Douglas Cody, in recognition of your joyful commitment to creative excellence in hospitality and tourism, Johnson & Wales University is pleased to honor you today. And so, therefore, by the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the University, under the laws governing higher education in Rhode Island, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Business Administration, honoris causa, with all of the rights and privileges appertaining thereto. Doug, congratulations. Great to have you on board. Stay right here. I'd like to be the first to congratulate you, Dr. Cody, as your first official act as graduate of Johnson & Wales, I invite you to address your classmates. Would everyone in the audience please join me in giving a warm Johnson & Wales welcome to the new Dr. Douglas Cody.
Oh, wait a minute. Where's Mayor Buddy? He had to go. I don't live in Rhode Island, but could I vote for him anyway? I love that man. Wow, I am so pumped. This is an incredible experience for you, I'm sure. So do me a favor and just get it out of your system one more time. Can I hear it? Great. And I think the parents and the visitors have been a little too quiet. So now it's your turn. Let's hear it up here. Great. Remember this. And by the way, my speech is a beach ball optional speech. So feel free if you so desire. They have amnesty for the duration of my speech. Yes, there we are. What have I started? All right, let's get serious. Boy, I look behind me, Peter Lynch and Kurt Ritter and Richard Kelleher. For the first time in my life, I can say I have big money behind me. That's it. Well, 21 years. It was 21 years ago that I was in your place, wearing still what is the strangest hat I've ever had on my head. I have it again. And I remember feeling a peculiar mix of joy and sadness and depression and eagerness, because all those feelings swirling together because something was ending and something else was beginning. And of course, this is more of a beginning than an ending. That's why they call it commencement and not completion. You probably knew that already. It took me 20 years to think about that and realize what today is. So today, as you commence your professional lives, I thought I might tell you a little bit about mine. Dr. Yenna read that wonderful introduction just the way I wrote it, and I appreciate that. But since this is Johnson & Wales, hospitality is a big part of the school, I thought I would talk about forks. And I'm a tremendous believer in forks. Not the table kind, but the life kind. Forks in the road. These are choices that present themselves sometimes in quiet ways, but which only much later assume their real importance. Now let me tell you about some of my forks, and maybe they'll be useful to you. That's right. I remember the first fork in my road, in 1974, my junior year in college. I had taken a part-time job at a local advertising agency in Omaha, Nebraska, and I was delivering commercial tapes to the radio stations around town. I'd been on the job about 4 weeks when the owner called me into his office and said, "How'd you like to write some radio copy?" Now, I didn't know whether I could write a radio commercial or not, but thankfully neither did he. So he asked, and I could have said no, because I wasn't sure of my ability. And that decision would have taken me one way in life. Or I could dive in and try it, which is what I did. and it worked out all right. That small decision to try something new that I wasn't sure of took me down a new fork in my road. I became an advertising copywriter, and I kept the job of delivery boy because I thought it was something good to fall back on in case this other thing didn't work out. Was this big break due to chance? Of course. But as the philosopher says, chance favors the prepared mind. Chance favors the prepared mind. Think about that. In my mind, I was prepared to say yes. And when the chance came, I didn't hesitate. I took the chance. I took another fork in the road that led me to new adventures. Well, soon chance presented itself again. This time it was in the form of an ad looking for a copywriter for Walt Disney World in Florida. Now, Florida was a long way from Nebraska. It was a long way from everything I knew, a long way from my family. For me, it was a huge fork in the road. But I took the step. I applied for the job. And by the way, if I could offer some advice, never, ever be shy about applying for a job, even if you're not sure you want it. Interviewing is like dating. It's a long way from marriage, but you learn a lot about the opposite sex in the process. In this case, you learn a lot about the business world before you take the big step. So, in the end, you can always say no thank you, which is what I did to Disney for reasons that now seem pretty small. I turned the job down. Now, thankfully, this is when I learned that opportunities are not always laid in front of us by chance. Sometimes they're put there intentionally. But we do have to open our eyes to see them. Now, let me tell you how my eyes were opened. At that time, one of my advertising clients was a CBS TV station in Omaha, Nebraska. Every fall, that station had a premiere party for all of its advertisers to show off the new CBS network programming that was coming up. This year, the party was being held the very evening of the day that I turned down the Disney offer. I went to the party, but I remember going with more than a little melancholy. After all, I just made a really difficult life decision. I was trying to get comfortable with it. I wasn't in the mood to party, unlike you. At these parties, the main event was always a videotape showing the new network program. So as the time approached for the videotape to roll, I took my place in the audience, front row center, just like you are. So there I was as the lights went down and the audience quieted and the videotape rolled. And washing over me like a wave, I remember the feeling, like a wave came the strings that begin the music When You Wish Upon a Star. And that was followed by a deep-voiced announcer who I swear was speaking just to me. And he said, "Coming this fall to CBS, the greatest name in family entertainment, Walt Disney." Tinkerbell was there on screen, the castle was there on screen, the fireworks were there on screen. I had turned them down that morning, and they were haunting me already. To this day, it was clear it was a sign from Walt. I half expected to feel his hand on my shoulder, or at least smacking me upside the head at the very least. But I smacked myself upside my own head and said, "What are you doing turning this down? This is Disney. Why would you walk away from this?" At 8 a.m. the next day, I was on the phone to Florida. I said, "Is the job still available?" They said, "It is." I said, "I'll take it." And I began a 12-year walk down another fork in the road of my life. Now, I tell you this story because it shows that even though chance favors the prepared mind, that mind has to be working to take advantage of the opportunities it brings. So what made the difference for me? I paid attention to something others might have regarded as coincidence, but which I now think of as the sign from Walt. That experience taught me to listen not only to the logic that I was trained to use in school, but also to the things outside of me as well, things I couldn't control and really wasn't familiar with.